everyone, it's Lara. Thank you so much for watching. I made myself a new sassy dress. This is the one I'm wearing right now. I designed it myself and I also created my own pattern. I will show you how to do that. It's actually not that difficult, and of course I will walk you step by step through the process of making the dress. So if you want to know how I have done that, then please keep watching. Alright guys, this is a sketch of how I created the pattern. So here we have a tank top. I picked a tank top that fit me really well, and then I drew a line from one armhole moving towards the bottom part of the neckline towards the other armhole, which created a round shape, and that was the top of my front part of the dress. On the bottom part I had to add several inches, in my case 10 inches since I'm quite tall, but that you have to adjust according to your height and according to how long you want your dress to be. And that would be the basic part of my dress. The back part is going to be pretty much the same, the only difference is it's supposed to be straight on the top. Since the shape is going to be exactly the same, all I had to do was to make one piece of pattern and mark this line, which would represent the back part, and this is where I would have to fold the pattern. The next part we are looking at is the bra piece. This is this one. This is where my breasts end, so underneath my breast, and here we have again the roundish shape, and that is the front part, and again just with a straight line, this is the back part. Then there is the collar piece. For that I took a stripe of fabric about 4 inches wide, and then I just measured how wide my neck was and added some extra for seam allowance, and that I have also extra piece which I can slide into the bikini clasp that I used at the back of my neck. Then I needed several stripes of fabric for the straps in the front. They were about 2 inches wide, and in total I used about 50 inches of fabric, and then I just cut it into 5 pieces. The middle piece was the shortest. I think that mine was about 6.5 inches long. Then I also needed a rubber band with silicone for the top part, elastic band for the bottom part of the bra. Mine was 1.25 inches wide, and then I just measured the circumference of my upper body underneath the breasts. This is actually the same measurement you would use when you would buy a bra. I also needed iron-on interfacing for the collar piece, then for the straps, and then also for the 2 pieces that I'm gonna show you in a second that I added on the bottom of the dress. And I also needed 1 bikini clasp. You can pick any bikini clasp you like. And now to the rectangular pieces on the bottom. They are just 2 rectangles, and then I had to add here, here, and on the bottom interfacing before I hemmed it, because otherwise the fabric would stretch out. And this is pretty much how I created the pattern. This is the elastic band with silicone that I will use. You can see the shiny part, that is the silicone stripe, and there is a little distance from the edge, and that will prevent the dress from sliding down, so it will stay in place. It is very stretchy and it is very easy to use, and that would be the rubber band that I will use for my bra piece. Is 1.25 inches wide. Here we have the tank top that I've used, and I'm going to show you how I folded it in order to be able to copy it for my pattern. Here is the folded tank top placed on my paper pattern. As I already mentioned, I will use the same piece for the back part and the front part of the dress. For the back part, I will fold it on the top. And then I have here the rectangular shape. It is the same width as the bottom part of the dress, and I will need 2 pieces of this. Here I have a pattern for my bra piece. Just like on the pattern for the main part of the dress, there is a line where I need to fold it for the back bra piece. Here I already have the main pieces of my dress. As a first step, I started pinning those two parts together. Then it looked like this. And as a next step, I also pinned the bra parts together. With both the dress parts and also with the bra parts, I made sure that the good sides are facing each other and that the bad side was on the top. Here is what it looked like once it was pinned together. I also already cut the pieces for my collar and for the straps, and we are going to start with the collar piece. First I folded it in the middle and then I ironed it. Next I put on one of the sides a piece of interfacing and then I closed it and I ironed it again. Once that was finished, I opened my collar piece and then I folded each side again in the middle and ironed carefully over the edge. At the end, I folded it in the middle again. I repeated the same procedure for the pieces of fabric that served me as my straps. Those are the little things that are kind of a lot of work, but they're really important because the interfacing can save you a lot of trouble later. Next, I pinned the straps together and then I was ready to start sewing. I started with my bra piece. For that, I used an elastic stitch. When I finished, I cut back any excess fabric. This is how the sides looked like once it was done. Next, I measured my elastic band, I've sewn the ends together and then I started pinning it to the bottom part of the bra piece. Here is what it looked like once it was pinned and then I have sewn it on. I used the same stitch. Once that was done, I folded the seam inwards and then I pinned it in place. I changed the settings of my machine for the elastic zigzag. I've sewn it in place and then my bra piece was ready. I changed my settings to the elastic stitch number 24 and I started sewing together the main pieces of the dress. I cut back any excess fabric and then it looked like this. Next, I changed the settings of my sewing machine to the elastic zigzag again and I started sewing together the straps. Once that was done, I folded my dress in the middle and made a little cut on the top of the front part so that I knew where the middle was, and then I got my straps ready. I started with the middle strap, I positioned it where the cut was and pinned it in place. Then I positioned also the other straps. I kept 2 inches distance between each of them. Next, I took the bra piece and put it inside of the dress so that the bed sides were facing each other and I started pinning it in place. Here you can see how everything looked like so far. I also pinned the side seams of the bra part and of the dress together because I want to sew them also together so that the bra piece wouldn't kind of wander. Next, I measured the width of my elastic band. It should be actually almost the same width as the top of your dress. I've sewn the ends together and then I started pinning it on my dress. The part of the elastic band where the silicone is supposed to face the good side of the dress and the smooth side is now on the top. Then it looked like this. I've sewn it on. For that I used the elastic stitch again. As a next step, I folded the elastic band inwards and I pinned it in place. And then I sew through again with an elastic straight stitch. I prepared my collar piece. I've sewn it together with a regular straight stitch, and I left a short section in the middle open because this is where I will position my straps. This is the stitch that I have used, is just a regular straight stitch. I pulled the ends of my collar through the bikini clasp, I pinned them in place and sewed the ends through with the same regular straight stitch, and then I cut back any excess fabric. Then I put my dress on and I marked the middle of the collar, which I've done with a pin, but I do not recommend this. It is always best to make just a mark with sewing crayon or with something that will be washed out. And then I started positioning the straps on the collar and pinning them in place. Here you have to be very careful so that you don't stab yourself, and it is always best to start also with the middle strap. Then I took the dress off, I cut back any excess fabric, inserted the straps inside of the collar, and then it looked like this. I took the dress off and I started making any adjustments where I felt like the straps were a bit too loose, and when I was putting them back I also made sure that there is everywhere the same distance between them. I went back to my sewing machine, changed the settings to the regular straight stitch, and then I could sew the collar together. Next, I ironed interfacing on 3 sides of each of the rectangular shapes, and then I started folding those sides with the interfacing twice and pinning them in place. Here you can choose between the elastic zigzag or the regular straight stitch. I picked the regular straight stitch because then I made sure that the fabric won't stretch out. Once that was done, I took both of the rectangular pieces and I pinned them to the bottom part of my dress with the side that had no interfacing on. For this step, I changed the settings of my sewing machine to the elastic stitch number 24. One thing I had to consider was again that the fabric was really stretchy, so I wanted to sew a little bit further from the edge than usual, and that prevented the fabric from stretching out. I also didn't cut back the excess fabric this time, I just folded it inwards, actually upwards, and then I pinned it in place. And then we came to the last step where I only had to sew through this part. And I've done that with the elastic zigzag. Once that was done, I ironed the dress and then I could finally put it on. A few ideas for further variations: you could make the dress just short and skip the rectangular pieces on the bottom. You could also make the straps of lace or chains, or you could also use rhinestones if you wanted some extra bling. That is all up to you. Even though I am a total sucker for lace and anything that sparkles, I decided to keep this dress this time simple because I found that the straps are quite interesting enough. If you liked today's video, don't forget to give it a thumb up. And you can also subscribe to my channel for more videos. There's a button above me, you just have to hit it, or if you're not watching on PC but on any mobile devices that wouldn't work, then please just visit the description box. There is a link for subscribing to my channel, together with links to my Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and you will find there also links to several playlists that might be interesting for you. Thank you so much for watching, have a wonderful day and see you next time. Bye!